What's going on? It's your boy, That Guy Health, ANBF Men's Physique Pro, Health Up Nutrition, sponsored athlete of one of the best fat burning pre-workouts that you can get. 30 servings, $29.99. Make sure you head over to the website, get yourself a container, and start the gains. Today and every other day for this series, I'm up here at Atlanta Fearless CrossFit. Okay, we're going to be filming here every series for this. So don't forget, it's a 3-part series. They're all going to start off like this. And do not forget, subscribe, like, and comment. Be involved with the community. We all are headed to the same destination. We all want gains. We all want to get progress, and we all want to achieve goals. And I'm here to help you do that. So let's get started into this segment so you can get your gains up. Welcome to the first part of increasing delt gains. All right, this is going to be part 1. Now in part 1, do not be surprised. We're not going to use any weight, no resistance whatsoever. What we are going to do is focus on form, the area of concentration, and show you how to use form in the proper technique to first engage that muscle group that we want to hit. Now listen, we're going to work primarily on the posterior delt. That would be the rear delt because, and the reason this is, the front and lateral delts usually get a lot of work from other exercises. The posterior delt is lacking on the back end. So usually your front and your lateral delts will have pretty good definition. Now they might not be overbearing, but they're going to get more work, so you're going to have more definition in that area. If you notice, most people's posterior delt would be non-existent or very minimal, okay? This is an area that I found even in myself that I needed to implement and try to upgrade. So listen, the first thing you want to do is work on technique, work on concentrating that area. And the reason why we're not going to use any weights or any resistance is because it's less taxing. Will decrease the opportunity or the possibility of injuring ourselves. Now, I want to be sure you understand this. Before you do any type of exercise, any type of movement, you want to warm and stretch, period. There are plenty of times when you excite or engage a muscle group, although you might not have any weight, you run the risk of possibly damaging or injuring yourself. So be sure to stretch, warm up prior to any type of exercise, all right? We're going to go ahead and jump into this, get started. Phase 1, no resistance, no weight. We're going to work on form. Let's start. All right, so let's jump into this. No weights, no resistance. The first thing that we're going to concentrate on is form and posture, okay? Now, there is a general form that you want to be in for just about every exercise out there. But what I want to tell you is it's a general foundation. When it comes to critiquing that form, you have to make it work for your anatomy. Everybody's anatomy is not the same. You may be taller, you may be shorter, your arms might be longer, they might be shorter. So the general form is where you want to get into, and from there you want to make little slight adjustments, staying comfortable and staying safe, that are going to allow you to exercise or penetrate that muscle group. So I'm going to bring that camera in, angle it down, and we're going to get started. I'm going to show you the general form. We're going to be working primarily on the posterior delt because, like I said, the front delt and the lateral delt usually get work in any type of upper body exercise you do. It's the posterior delt that lacks those motivations or lacks those exercises, okay? It's like the redhead stepchild of the bunch. So we want to give it a little bit of extra special attention so that we can start developing a well-rounded delt, all right? So let's bring that camera in. I'm going to get in the general form, show you how I critique it for myself to engage that muscle group, and we'll go from there. Okay, now what I've got here is I'm lucky enough to have different pleats within this floor, so I don't have to have an imaginary line for me to try to focus on. But the first thing you want to do is you want to focus on having a plane, a straight line in front of you when you get your form. So we're going to concentrate on that pretty much like following these primary first steps. So the first thing you want to do is we're going to do a bent over exercise, all right? Get your footing correct. This is the general form for where we're going to be, okay? Now notice, I don't want to have a hump back. I don't want a hump back type action. I don't want to be over flexed like this, okay? This is not deadlifts. I want to be slightly bent over, have a neutral position, keeping my head neutrally fixed so that I'm not putting extra strain on the lower back or having a hump back, okay? The reason that we're doing this is because gravity is going to help us penetrate that posterior delt, all right? So you'll be slightly bent over. Boom, I'm gonna drop my hands down, and I'm basically gonna have a line where I'm kind of focusing in front of me where I wanna keep my reps. I want to keep my arms on that line as if they're fixed. From there, I'll adjust back or forward to penetrate that muscle group. Remember, this is the general form. Making these slight adjustments are critiquing it and perfecting it for your body anatomy so that you can exercise that posterior delt. Now, once I find that position, what I want to do is, and I'm going to come in a little closer, is I want to find out what range of motion penetrates or excites this muscle group. So let me come in a little bit. So if you notice, I'm right here. All right, boom. You see the posterior delt. You can tell because it flexed up. So it's engaged now. If I drop down, you see it drops out. The lateral head, you see that right there. So what I want to do is I want to slowly start moving my arm out to when I just see that posterior delt engage. Now I know with no resistance and no bands is where I want to rep. And I'm going to get into that shortly. Next thing I want to do is I want to see how high I come up. And usually you don't want to go too far back when it comes to delt exercises, all right? You don't want to overextend them. I'm not a big component of doing behind the back delt exercises because I believe you can get good penetration on all the heads without doing behind the back. It causes impingement, all right? So what I want to do now, boom, you see right there, the posterior delt is not engaged too much. And I have to look at the screen and look back at the camera, so excuse that. Okay, so here we go. Let's move it. Boom, it kicked in. You see that little divot right there? It shows that the posterior delt is flexing. And I want to come up and keep it in there. Now you notice, if I come close, you might not see it, but my bicep flexes up when I come that close. My tricep flexes up and the lat comes in. So I'm not saying that you can't get rear delt exercises or good penetration by doing close, but we want to maximize the concentration in the rear delt. So what I will do is I will drop out and swing my elbow outer. So I'm looking at this being my end point instead of my hand, because I'll scoot out. If you're worried and you're focused, your mind is focused that the end point is your hand and not your elbow, you tend to want to do more like that, which really engages the bicep, tricep. We want to have more of this type of motion. We don't want to do this type of motion right away, okay? We're trying to, boom, get that rear delt engaged. So I'm going to look something like this. Neutral, find my position, boom, swing it out. And right there, do you see that? A hold. That is a key move to keep or even further concentrate that posterior delt. It's that hold. Now we're working against gravity. That posterior delt's engaged, and then we'll drop down. Boom, okay? So let's practice this, all right? We're gonna be right here, find our position, and then we're gonna practice on repping on that plane, just like this. Moving frontward, backwards, finding out where works for us. So right there is working for me. I can feel it. So I'll hold, I feel it. Hold, feel it. Hold, feel it, all right? And then I will even work on hand position. Which hand position works better for me? Will I come something like this, neutral, boom. All right, so that's what we're doing. So let me fix that camera so we can go ahead, show you a little bit closer on this posterior delt. I'm gonna bring that camera in. Okay, we're gonna get a few reps in right here, boom. 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold, 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 boom. And I can already, right here, feel the posterior delt starting to burn, okay? What I've done is I've moved into partials. I'm not letting it disengage. I know the range where it slightly starts to engage, and I wanna go right to that point and boom, come back up. And I can feel that posterior delt, it's burning. So that tells me I'm in the right area. So what you wanna do is work on that, okay? The form. The proper fitment within that form for you. No weight, find your imaginary plane, keep those hands around there. You can play with your hand position. A certain hand position might work better for you in order to excite that muscle group. Then you want to go ahead and work on partials. Stand in that engaged range. Work on some dropping all the way out in holds. Do those things. The more you can make that mind-muscle connection and feel in that posterior delt that it is engaging with no weights or no resistance bands, when we add resistance and the weights, we're just upping the ante. Now we're increasing on those gains. So I want you all to work on that first, okay? Start with that. Start with this routine. No weights, no resistance. I know you're probably saying, oh, that's simple, but guess what? Form is a big part of the battle. If you're doing weighted exercises, resistance exercises, and your form sucks, you're not maximizing your gains. I'm not saying you're not going to get any gains, but you're not maximizing them whatsoever. This is where I started. This is what I started implementing to make sure my mind and my muscle were connected and I know the range, the motion, the form I need to be in. And then I took it up with the resistance. Then I take it up with the weights, all right? So that's the first part of this segment. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid is how we're gonna do it. Let's keep it simple. Let's work on this for a full week. Do as many reps as you need till you feel that concentration and that posterior delt starts to burn. Then you know you're in the sweet spot. I look forward to seeing you for part 2. We're gonna move on to resistance bands in there. Don't forget, subscribe, like, comment. Make sure you click notification so you know when that part comes out. Thanks for joining me.